Having to rely on Yahweh instead of upon their vaunted IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, many of whose superb weapons are manufactured right there in Israel, will no doubt be a hard lesson for the Jews. And don't look so pious. Many of us Christians never really learned to rely on him either. But though their pride may still be intact after the Battle of Magog, since they will participate with valor and achieve hard-won successes of their own, they will be reduced, actually it's elevated, to a place of complete dependence on Yahweh when the Antichrist implements his grand satanic scheme. Isaiah foresaw the confusion of the times.
They shall lift up their voices, they shall sing for the majesty of Yahweh. They shall cry aloud from the sea. Therefore glorify Yahweh in the dawning light, the name of Yahweh, God of Yisrael, in the coastlands of the sea.
Whether the prophet's references to the sea are literal or metaphorical, it is clear that in the wake of World War III, the overall context of the passage, Israel once again finds itself in exile among the Gentiles. And once again we see this unsettling dichotomy of Israel finally coming to know Yahweh, only to find themselves in the Antichrist's gun sights as a result.
From the ends of the earth we have heard songs, glory to the righteous. But I said, I am ruined, ruined, woe to me. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Indeed, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously.
What else would you call it when the one to whom you had virtually surrendered your national sovereignty in the interests of peace turns around and demands your submission, your worship, your very soul? It's treachery, pure and simple. Israel is not alone in their dilemma, however. The whole world is in the same basic pickle, and there's nowhere left to hide. Isaiah continues.
Fear and the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitant of the earth. And it shall be that he who flees from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he who comes up from the midst of the pit shall be caught in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth are shaken. The earth is violently broken, the earth is split open, the earth is shaken exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall totter like a hut. Its transgression shall be heavy upon it, and it will fall, and not rise again. Isaiah 24:14-20.
Throughout the Scriptures we see earthquakes playing a starring role in the last days. My impression, admittedly an extrapolation, is that they will continue gaining in frequency and intensity until a seismic climax at the very end of the tribulation, as if the earth itself is groaning under the strain of our sin. Does "it will fall and not rise again" mean that the earth's crust will at some point, presumably upon Yahshua's return in glory, reach a state of equilibrium? We have seen a spate of violent temblors that began gaining momentum in the late 20th century. Will Christ's coming cause it to abate for 1,000 years? We aren't specifically told, so I can't be dogmatic, but a peaceful geology seems to fit the millennial picture the Bible gives us. However, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Don't blame me, it's Isaiah's fault. Hosea, as I have observed, was God's designated prophetic expert in betrayal and forgiveness. Through him, Yahweh told Israel what would happen to them and what it would take to undo the damage.
For I will be like a lion to Ephraim, like a young lion to the house of Judah. I, even I, will tear them and go away. I will take them away, and no one shall rescue. I will return again to my place till they acknowledge their offense.
In response to their offense, Yahweh would treat them like a lion treats supper, and then he would leave them alone without the comfort only he could provide. Why? So that
they will seek my presence. In their affliction they will earnestly seek me. Hosea 5:14-15.
If I were a Jew searching for the answer to Yahweh's carrot-and-stick conundrum, I would be desperately trying to figure out what offense I was supposed to acknowledge. Was it one of those 613 laws that we forgot to observe? Was it all of them? Or something else? This is hardly fair, Father. After all, we haven't been able to atone for our sins since the Romans tore down the temple, your temple, and scattered us to the four winds. Oh, wait, that was when you tore us, isn't it? So our offense was something we did or didn't do before that. What could it have been? Hosea gives the searching Jews another tantalizing clue a bit later.
Come, and let us return to Yahweh, for he has torn, but he will heal us. He has stricken, but he will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us. On the 3rd day he will raise us up, that we may live in his sight. Let us know, let us pursue the knowledge of Yahweh. His going forth is established as the morning. He will come to us like the rain, like the latter and former rain to the earth. Hosea 6:1-3.
Both the Old and New Testaments talk about 1,000 years as being one day to Yahweh, and one day being like 1,000 years. I have reason to believe that the truth will hit the Jewish people like a thunderbolt, all at once and with a great deal of noise. Read, after 2,000 years he will revive us. Some sharp Israeli will be reading Hosea, and the timeline will jump out and bite him or her. It has been almost exactly 2,000 years since we rejected the messianic claims of Yahshua of Nazareth. We turned him over to the Romans to be, oh my God, we crucified the Messiah. As shocking a revelation as that will be, it will at least explain how Yahweh could have turned his back on his own chosen people for 2 millennia. This isn't about messing up the rabbinical minutiae, about how far we could walk on the Sabbath, or somehow doing the wave offerings all wrong. This is about God coming to us in the flesh, and us killing him. He wasn't what we expected, only what we needed. Jews today have a problem with Yahshua because he didn't fulfill all of the prophecies concerning the Messiah during his first century advent. But Hosea clearly states that the Messiah's mission would be fulfilled in stages. Once again, Yahweh and the Messiah are seen as identical.
Will come to us like the rain, like the latter and former rain to the earth.
The former rain fell in 33 A.D. The latter is his return in glory, coming soon to a planet near you. This national epiphany is not an insignificant glitch in the course of Israel's long and turbulent history. It is, rather, the whole point. Yahweh commemorated the Great Awakening with the 6th of his 7 designated mikras, or holy convocations. They're normally called feasts, but this one's different. The short version is this summary.
And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Also the 10th day of this 7th month shall be the day of atonement. It shall be a set-apart convocation for you. You shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. And you shall do no work on that same day, for it is the day of atonement, to make atonement for you before Yahweh your God. For any person who is not afflicted in soul on that same day shall be cut off from his people.
Remember that last sentence. It's important.
And any person who does any work on that same day, that person I will destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be to you a Sabbath of solemn rest. You shall afflict your souls on the 9th day of the month at evening. From evening to evening you shall celebrate your Sabbath. Leviticus 23:26-32.
The Day of Atonement, or Yom Kippur, is considered by observant Jews to be the most sacred day on the calendar. Scheduled on the 10th day after the Feast of Trumpets, which, as you'll recall, is prophetic of the rapture of the church, it is the second of 3 autumn festivals, falling in September or October by our pagan reckoning. Though it lasts but 1 day, from sundown on the 9th of Tishri until 3 stars could be seen in the evening sky on the 10th, it is the culmination of the 10 days of awe that began on the Feast of Trumpets. As we saw previously, the days between the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah, also erroneously referred to as Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, are a time of serious personal reflection, as most certainly will be the period of time between the rapture and the Yom Kippur near the end of the tribulation, especially for the Jews. During the days of awe, pious Jews examine their lives and repent of the shortcomings they find. These days, that is considered the essence of being afflicted in soul. Fasting has become part of the tradition as well, although it is not specified in the Torah, as is enduring all sorts of contrived personal discomforts for the day, such as forsaking any footwear that actually protects the feet. The typical rabbinical minutiae obfuscate the meaning, as usual. This monastic self-denial for a day is not exactly what Yahweh had in mind, however. The ritual that was prescribed for the Day of Atonement was a poignant and detailed picture of the salvation of mankind from the penalty of sin through the sacrifice of the Messiah. More than any of the other 7 holy convocations, the rehearsal of this day's events depends upon the tabernacle or temple to tell its story. As with all of the other holy days, its literal fulfillment in the person of Yahshua is essential to understanding its significance. Without the sacrifice of Emmanuel, none of this makes any sense. In the light of that sacrifice, however, Yahweh's plan emerges like a beautiful butterfly rising out of its cocoon. God does not institute ritual for ritual's sake. He does nothing on a pointless whim. So while it's not strictly prophecy, and though it's kind of a lengthy passage, let's take a closer look at the Day of Atonement.
Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell Aaron your brother not to come at just any time to the set-apart place inside the veil, before the mercy seat which is on the ark, lest he die. For I will appear in the cloud above the mercy seat. Thus Aaron shall come to the set-apart place, with the blood of a young bull as a sin offering, and a ram as a burnt offering, and he shall put the set-apart linen tunic and the linen trousers on his body. He shall be girded with a linen sash, and with the linen turban he shall be attired. These are set-apart garments. Therefore he shall wash his body in water, and put them on. And he shall take from the congregation of the children of Yisrael 2 kids of the goats as a sin offering, 1 ram as a burnt offering."
Note first that salvation is on God's terms and schedule, not ours. The high priest could only enter the Holy of Holies on 1 day a year, this day, the 10th of Tishri. The normal priestly garb is insufficient for this day, for it is on this day that the high priest is to stand before Yahweh. He must therefore bathe and don special linen garments, signifying the righteousness provided by the Messiah. His own good works cannot bring him into the presence of a holy God.
Aaron shall offer the bull as a sin offering, which is for himself, and make atonement for himself and for his house. He shall take the 2 goats, and present them before Yahweh at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Then Aaron shall cast lots for the 2 goats, 1 lot for Yahweh, the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat on which Yahweh's lot fell, and offer it as a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before Yahweh, to make atonement upon it, and to let it go as the scapegoat into the wilderness. Leviticus 16:2-10.